What is Basepaint? It's a, in my head at least, I like to describe it as a space where any artist can come along and contribute pixel art on the internet, that is powered by blockchain technology in its simplest form. I think is how I probably describe it to people. Why is it important? Man, that's like kind of a tough question. Um, I think from my experience at least, because I'm coming up to like, I think I'm close to 900 days. Yeah, I've got an 888-day streak on Basepaint currently. And for me personally, it's important to me, and I don't know if this applies to other people, but for me at least, it's enabled me to provide for my family using pixel art. And I've not had a 9 to 5 job for coming up like 4 years, I think. I think I went full time pixel artist in July 2021, and Basepaint's been a large part of that, of being able to survive off art. And so for me, it's important because not only is it a place that I can um, have fun with my friends, just making cool art, but yeah, it genuinely does provide for my family to put food on the table as well. So I think it's important in that matter. I actually, it's funny. I discovered it pretty early. I think I would have seen it in the first like 20 days that it was a thing, because it was popping up on my Twitter feed. I saw this guy, um, Numo, Numo.eth. I don't know if he's involved in this or not, but he was one of the first people that popped up on my Twitter feed about Basepaint, and I was kind of just like, I kind of just like scrolled past because I didn't think much of it, and yeah, then I kept seeing it pop up, and then I got chatting to Backseats, and is he'll be in this surely? Yeah, okay. So I got chatting to Backseats, and he was like, "Man, what are you doing? You should get involved with Basepaint." And so he actually messaged Winter and Zach, the guys that made Basepaint, and we're like, "This is my buddy Dean. Like, you should give him a brush." And so yeah, I got a brush. I think it was on day 43. So I've been in there pretty early on. I would consider myself one of the OGs of Basepaint, but not as early as some. But yeah, I discovered it pretty early, and I kind of wish I'd gotten a little bit earlier just for the credit. But nah, I've been fortunate to be around on Basepaint for quite a while. Yeah, no, I can touch on that. I've always been fascinated by like art, and like I wasn't really that good at it if I'm being honest. Um, but it was around 2020. I think it was either late 2019 or late 2020. I started seeing NFTs popping up on Twitter, and seeing these 15, 16-year-old kids selling their 3D art for like absurd amounts of money. It was like 15, 20,000. These are kids making crazy money off NFTs. And it piqued my curiosity because I was working a job at the time that I wanted to get out of. And so I decided I was going to learn how to do art and how to become an artist. And so I first actually tried 3D art, but I didn't have a computer that was powerful enough. It would keep like crashing. I tried to learn Blender, 3D rendering, and my computer would just crash like all the time. And I was like, this is not going to work. Um, so for some reason, my brain was like, well, if I can't render like anything 3D, I can probably do pixel art because that's like literally the most low res art form that exists, like digitally. And so yeah, I just opened up Photoshop and I opened up a new canvas that was probably like 100 pixels by 100 pixels, and I kind of just started drawing. And I was really bad at it. Like I was not good at it at all. But I was determined to become an artist, so I just practiced every day. I practiced. It would have been 4 or 5 hours every day for 4 or 5 months on end. So I'd wake up, do my 9 to 5, drive home, kids to bed, set up my computer on the table, draw from 7 till midnight, and I did that every day for like 4 or 5 months. And then by the end of that point, that was when I was like, okay, I think I'm probably good enough that I can do some drawings now. And so I sold my first piece of pixel art as an NFT. I think 5 months, 4 or 5 months into my. Actually, it might have been sooner. It might have been like a month or 2 months, 2 months in that I sold my first piece of pixel art. And I look at it now and it's terrible. It's so bad. But yeah, I was 28, I think, at the time, 27 or 28, that I started art. So yeah, by no means was I like a young person. I picked up my art career a bit later in life, and so I'm 33 now, and I've been a full time artist for about 5 years, 4 or 5 years, which is really cool. Yeah. So I've always been. I think I was about 18 when I got my first camera, and that was sort of the first art form that I was truly passionate about, and I'm still passionate about. Like I still love photography just as much. Um, but yeah, I've always been interested in photography, and I was trying to live off of my photography before I kind of got into NFTs. I was shooting weddings and like corporate stuff, and I actually used to be a photographer for Uber, for Uber Eats at one point, going to all the restaurants and like taking photo of the food and stuff. Um, so yeah, I was trying to make my living as a photographer, and I think I started to blur the line between like work and passion, and I sort of lost that passion for photography because I'd done so much of it as paid work that I no longer wanted to do it in my free time. And so pivoting from photography to pixel art enabled me to still be creative and still make things without fully like I just like ignoring the desire I have to create because I always just feel like I have to make stuff. So that was kind of a cool way. And then making all the friends on Basepaint as well. That's been awesome. It's very fun, like having a community of artists and people that you get to talk with every day and make art with every day. But yeah, backtracking though, photography was sort of like my first true art form um, as well. Yeah. Yeah, it did. Having the background, understanding of lighting and color, I had a pretty good knowledge of how color theory works from photography, and so having that background in lighting and color and contrast and how like compositions work was definitely it definitely gave me a head start in figuring out like how to draw things and how light sort of interacts with objects and that kind of stuff. So um, did I if I hadn't had that, then yeah, I would have had to fully start from scratch. So sort of already having some background of how good colors work together and that sort of thing was really helpful for pixel art. It was scary, yeah, because I mean I have a wife and I have three young kids, like 6, 4, and 2, and a couple of them have been born since I've been a full time artist. So going through those periods where the money is tight and I'm not making as many sales off my art is definitely stressful. Um, but I think it was different before base paint because I felt like I really had to grind. Like it was like I have to make pieces of art. I have to get them out to get sales. Um, and then once base paint came along, um, yeah, it added a little more security. It was like, oh, like I can do this every day, and I'm gonna get a little bit of ETH every day, and that was like like an additional income stream, I suppose, which was really cool. That when Winter and Zach kind of just made this thing out of nowhere. Like they have, I don't know if they realize it or not, but they've created like a platform for artists to make art and then get paid to do it every single day. And it's like almost we're at day 930, and I don't know many like projects in the space that have lasted 900 days. Like because I was started off like flipping NFTs in like 2021, and it's like 2026 now, and base paint's still going strong. And so I don't actually know that many other communities around that have been around for this long, um, which is really cool. So going through that transition of like it basically being that 2021 22 hype period where everyone was selling their art, and then it sort of faded off, and a lot of projects died out. Having base paint consistently has been really cool. It's a very, very cool project. Yeah, there's like it's so cool as well because there's so many different cultures. We have like a few people from Iran. We've got Thailand. Um, like a lot of people from Brazil, USA. Like it's a very, very um, global project, and so I keep thinking to myself, I need to learn another language just so I can speak that language in the base paint chat because I only speak English. But yeah, it's very, very cool how like some of these guys that are in what we would call like third world countries are making significant amounts of money um, just by doing pixel art. Way more than they would make at a regular job in their countries. So I think that's where the whole decentralization thing comes in, and it's very, very cool in that regard. So like currently, I'm living at the moment right now. I'm living solely off base paint. Um, while I'm working on other like side projects and stuff. Um, but I don't want that to be sort of like the end result because then you're at the mercy of Ethereum basically going to zero, or which would obviously not happen. But you can't be dependent upon that because the amount always fluctuates, and then you never know what you're going to get every day. So currently I am, but that's not how I want it. How I want it to be. I'm working on some other things in the background to yeah, stabilize my income a little bit more. Yeah, it's definitely tight though, like being a first world nation and being in New Zealand specifically, 'cause it's pretty expensive here. It's quite expensive here. Why do people collect? Um, I think a lot of that can actually just come from like the demographic of people who are collecting. Like a lot of people who are in the NFT space are sort of in that like I want to say 25 to 34 age range, or a little bit older, sort of maybe even up to 40. And a lot of us grew up on like Pokemon cards and things that we used to collect and exchange with friends. And uh, some of the top collectors in Pacepaint do it um, for a few different reasons. One is obviously that they want to get a full set. They want to be one of the few people that have a full set. They love the project, so their way of supporting the devs is by minting a canvas daily or when they can to support the devs. And also because yeah, we're all like little kids that just want to collect stuff. Still, even though we're like grown adults, we still want to like get that feeling of collecting things. Um, at least in my experience, that's what I feel like it is for us old guys now who all grew up on Pokemon cards and stuff like that. Well, yeah, I mean, you do the math. Even if they start at like the price that they paid for, it's going to be 930 times. I think it's like 0.0026 Ethereum or something. That adds up. I think they've tried to keep it around $5-6 to mint on my canvas every day, but as ETH goes up, then the price of minting goes up as well sometimes. But yeah, full set, I have no idea what it would even go for. What is pixel art? Man, give me hard questions. Um, I mean that's. I feel like if you'd asked this question in the base paint chat, it would erupt because everyone would be like, "No, pixel art has to be like lower than a 256 by 256 pixel canvas or whatever." But I mean, you look at pixel artists now that are using much, much bigger canvas sizes. Like there are guys doing like basically 1080p pixel art. Like it's absolutely incredible. But um, I suppose in its most basic form, it's painting. It's just painting with pixels, really, and it doesn't have to be one pixel at a time because that would just be extremely difficult and time consuming. But yeah, I don't know if this answers your question, but in my mind, it's just painting with very, very low resolution pixels. But it seems lately that people are expanding I suppose, the canvas size of what they would classify as pixel art. I don't really know if there are any rules or anything, but yeah, I think it's just painting with low res pixels. So I have a big like 22-inch screen tablet. When I started pixel art, I had just like a pen tablet, just You just use like a pen like this, and then just sort of like a black tablet, and I'd be looking at the screen drawing. Um, and then as I got better and better, I wanted to invest in some better gear. Not necessary, but I probably would never have upgraded. But my tablet died after like 5 years. It was like an absolute beast. I made all of my favorite pieces of art on it, and then eventually it just broke, and so I had to get a new one. Um, but yeah, I used some of my crypto. I think it was actually like this random airdrop that I got from some weird coin. I don't know. I just like got it for free, and then bought myself a nice big 22-inch screen tablet, and it feels like drawing on a giant iPad. It's pretty fun. It's like got a special sort of like a paper like surface on the top, so when you're drawing, it doesn't feel like you're drawing on glass so much. Um, but I quite like sort of being able to see with my pen like what I'm drawing on. Whereas when I had the pen tablet, I'd be drawing and looking at the screen, and there's always like a little bit of latency, and like not quite as accurate as actually having the pixel, I suppose, right on the end of your pen. And so now I just use my big tablet and A Sprite, which is like a $20, or maybe it might be like $12 or $13 USD. It's a pixel art like drawing software, and heaps of the guys in Basepaint have developed like scripts and plugins that we can draw our stuff in Basepaint and then basically import the code into Basepaint, and we just paste it straight in, which is amazing because when we first began, we like we joke about it all the time, like all the oldest guys in Basepaint, that we used to have to draw everything twice or sometimes three times because you draw it in A Sprite and then you would draw it again in Basepaint, and so you're basically double handling your work. And then Creamy and a few of the other guys in Basepaint created these scripts where you can just draw in A Sprite, export the code, and then put it into Basepaint, and that's like 2 seconds, and it was like life changing. And so, but alongside that though, Taylor and is it Taylor? No, Zach and Winter, the devs, they've created like they listen to us, and it's really cool. We say, we're noticing this, and this would be a good solution, and they just iterate and they code and do their thing, and they spit it out, and then update um, they update the canvas. They literally did it today. They did. Zach woke up this morning and he just updated Basepaint, and he created a new remove grid feature, which essentially in pixel art, when you're drawing the whole canvas, you can separate it and create grid lines for every single individual pixel, and it can be a little bit annoying sometimes if it can be in the way. And so today he just created a button that we click the button, and then the whole grid disappears, and now it's a bit more easier to like kind of see what you're drawing. And so I think it's really cool that the devs are still, even 930 days in, are still listening to us and changing things and continually making Basepaint better and better. But yeah, my main tools are just big drawing tablet and A Sprite, and then importing from A Sprite straight into Basepaint. Yeah, I think the from the I can't really think of when it happened, but fairly early on, we sort of created like a team of like mods, I suppose. And the main purpose of that was to just make sure that everyone was being treated fairly, that people weren't like spamming pixels just to get money, and like we all sort of really cared about the longevity of Basepaint and making sure that it was fair for any and all artists, regardless of your skill level, to come and have a good time. And so, yeah, there's been a lot of times where we've had to talk and make hard decisions about specific people or things that have taken place that would require us to, in some cases, remove people from the community in order to protect the longevity and keep everything fair. Uh, but yeah, it's been really really cool. There are a lot of guys in here that put in a lot of time in their own time, unpaid, to make Basepaint a lot safer and a lot more fun. And it's not just sort of like the daily canvases, but we've done other projects where we've created custom cursors. So like when you are painting on the screen, it now has your name tag, and it might have like a funny little cursor attached to your name tag. A lot of these things have been made by guys um, in the in the community specifically, uh, as opposed to like Nader or Winter or Zach. And so um, yeah, it's been really cool to kind of create sort of this tightly knit community, not too tight that not so tight that people can't step in and be a part of it, but tight enough that we all work together to keep it a fair place and make sure that it survives as long as possible. Yeah, sadly we've had a few people that have left just for different reasons, and you do feel it. There are some guys who are like known for submitting really really good themes every day, and and then when they leave, you feel it. So I would 100% agree with that base paint really is just it's a big global family of people who like to paint with pixels. Yeah, yeah. I think um, as an artist, we have this like, for me at least, I just have this like burning desire to make stuff. And it can be photos, it can be pixel art, it can be making videos, it can be anything. Um, and having a space that I can come to every day to make something, it just helps. It helps me stay sane, like because I like to draw and I like to make things. Um, and when I neglect the need to make stuff, I can get kind of like creatively frustrated because I want to make things. I'm not doing anything about it, and so um, yeah, base paint has also made me a better artist too, like 100%, like way 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 better artist. When I started, I was like not I was okay, but I was not that great. But then looking at 900 days, almost 900 days of painting, I'm at day 888 where I've drawn something every single day. I've become a much much better artist, um, and I think also it has inspired me to try other art forms. Like I'm trying to learn how to draw at the moment, which sounds ironic because I can paint pixel art, but I actually can't draw like on pen and paper. It's a completely different medium, and I'm not very good at it. And so now I'm trying to learn how to draw because I enjoy it. I've enjoyed base paint so much, and the joy it's brought in being able to draw, that I want to try out a new art form. And so there are a lot of benefits, I suppose, that you get, uh, you know, outside being paid to draw. There are a lot of benefits with base paint. If you've got no online community or no friends online or anything like that, it's a very very cool place to come hang out and make a lot of friends. Yeah, yeah. I'm number two on a leaderboard for pixels contributed. I'm at 5.4 million, I think. It's a lot of pixels. I think about it. Yeah, I do seven. It's around like I have a 7,000 pixel brush, and I was very fortunate to get a gold brush from the beginning, which is like the sort of the highest brush that you could get. Because in the beginning, like Zach and Winter were looking for like dedicated pixel artists to help develop the project, and so I was fortunate to get a gold brush right at the beginning, um, which meant I had 5,000 pixels a day, and I sort of didn't really understand. I thought 5,000 was all I got. I But I didn't realize it was like gonna renew every single day. Um, and back then, the canvas size that we were drawing was, I think it was 144 by 144 pixels, and now it's 256 by 256. Um, but yeah, I've been fortunate to have a pretty big brush from the beginning. So that, and then I got in pretty early. So the combination of being in early and getting a big brush is probably why I'm quite up there. But I also just love it. I just love drawing. Like even if I use all my pixels, I'm still like drawing other stuff and suggesting ideas and things. Like yeah, it's a very fun place to be. No, but I wouldn't be surprised. I don't because I don't know. I mean, I don't know how long. I don't know how long it's gonna run for. Um, but yeah, no, I think the only thing I've heard about is that the guys want me to wake up at 4 a.m. to be there for when the canvas turns over to day 1000 because the canvas turnover is always at 4 a.m. for me, and I'm like, Dean, you got to stay up all night. Come party when it's day 1000. So, but hopefully it doesn't end on day 1000. Nobody wants that. I couldn't tell you. Like to be honest, I'm actually surprised that the devs are still so involved because um, there were a lot of um, developers for other projects that dipped basically as soon as things got hard. As soon as the bear market 23 or 24, whenever you want to say it, began, kicked in, a lot of devs were just like, peace out, and off they went on to the next thing. But um, Zach and Winter have been going, they're still listening to us and making changes. Like for today example, like I mentioned before, 930 days in, and they're still here making changes, which is pretty cool. But I honestly couldn't tell you. I have no idea. It might go for another year, might go for another 3 years, or it might stop at day 1000, like like you say. Um, but I think the community that has been developed over this time and all the artists that show up every day, I would be very, very surprised if it didn't last, like, if it didn't last a long time. I think it'll keep going for a little while longer. But yeah, I have no idea. The next bull market might start, or NFTs might come back and it might blow up again. Who knows? Um, but my hope is that it goes for as long as we can make it last. Yeah, they already want to draw. They see me drawing every day, and they're like, "Dad, can I draw on the iPad, please? Let me draw on the iPad." And it's funny. I've actually done it before, where um, I've given my kids my pen, and I've let them draw on the canvas, and all the guys in the chat are like, "What is Dean doing?" I'm like, "Oh, it's my 2-year-old son. He's having a turn drawing on the canvas." Um, yeah, so it's pretty funny. Yeah, yeah, I love Basepaint. Great place. No, there's that. No, that's not true because there's actually I'm not sure who it was, but I know that recently there was someone that like, hey, I've given my 10 or 11 year old son or daughter a brush, and they were like contributing to the canvas. It was a while ago, but I remember reading that in the chat. They're like, oh, I've got my kid here. Um, I think that's cool though. I think it's a very cool way for like parents and kids to like, you know, make stuff together on the internet. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it would be funny to let my kids like draw something and save it on there. It would be funny. Yeah, he was because he's like a traditional, like an old school pixel artist. Like he's been doing stuff for like 20 years. Like, he's working with um some pretty big clients as well, which is kind of amazing. But yeah, I think it's a bit strange actually because there seems to be this stigma within the pixel art community, I suppose, online that NFTs and all that's a scam, and maybe that's because unfortunately there was a lot of scams um, in the 2021 and earlier NFT space that were pixel art. But yeah, it's funny hearing from Jude, who was like very like, I don't know if I want to say anti crypto, but yeah, it's been surprising how some people have come around and now they're on there every day making pixel art. Um, but yeah, he was definitely one of the guys that was like kind of skeptical of the whole concept of like making money off of pixel art through NFTs and that kind of thing. I'm not sure if there was anyone else that I know of that was pretty anti, but um, yeah, there's quite a large community of pixel artists in the wider space that think that crypto and NFTs and all that is a scam. So it's been harder to scale Basepaint to what we had hoped we could because of that. Essentially, is that people just don't trust crypto and they don't trust NFTs and that kind of thing. Because we did want to, we kind of used to throw around this like we want to see 10,000 artists, contributing to Basepaint, which would, I think about that logistically of what a canvas would even look like, and that would just be mental. Um, but yeah, it's nothing close to that, unfortunately, because of the way that pixel art, the pixel art community, uh, sees crypto, sees crypto. Yeah, I honestly don't know. Um, because I mean, like, there are a few guys in the base paint chat that will take a screenshot of the canvas that we painted that day, and they'll post it in like the pixel art Reddit page, and they don't actually like comment that it's an NFT. Um, but like they'll just say, "Oh, like, oh, what do you guys think of this?" And then we'll get heaps of interactions, and the people will be like, "Yeah, this is awesome." But then I feel like if you mentioned that it was an NFT, as soon as you mentioned that, they would just rip it to shreds and be like, "Oh, this is like," they'll just like kick you off the page or whatever. But um, I think until people can kind of get over that complex in their head of pixel art and NFTs being a scam, then yeah, we're not going to see any people, unfortunately, jump on unless it's done by word of mouth. I think, and I think that's kind of the key here is us trying to get our actual friends, our real life friends, involved in the space. Yeah, I think it's a great example, of like what can be done with cryptocurrency and the decentralization of it. Um, yeah, I think it's I would probably say that too. It's a perfect example of what you can do with crypto. Um, but unfortunately, people just have it in their head that crypto is a scam, and they're not going to change. Um, but it would be cool to use this as a use case, though. Base paint as a use case of how you can be involved in a wider community and make money, and it's actually safe, and it's not a scam. Um, but yeah, I'm not really sure how we would kind of get that out there. But maybe this documentary will change that. Man, I don't know. That's a pretty tough question, but yeah, I think that's one I'd have to sit on for a while. I don't know if I can answer that, but I think, yeah, I think the format itself of creating a space where people create, everyone is treated fairly equally, and everyone reaps rewards, and is given the ability to vote for things. Yeah, I haven't. Maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't seen anything else like base paint anywhere online, and like in the Web3, in the wider Web3 space. I think this is the only thing that I sort of know that uses this format. And I mean, it speaks for itself. It's 930 days and it's still going, um, every single day, and people are still minting, people are still making money. Um, we should use this elsewhere. We should. Yeah, no, that's very very cool. But these guys just kind of created it, not knowing what they actually, um, were about to create as they made it. Because I've actually like I've messaged Zach and Winter, and I personally, and I said, hey, like, I don't know if you guys have actually thought about the logistics behind what you're doing with base paint, but I'm only one example. But because of you, I made it through the entire bear market without having to go back to a 9 to 5, and that means I get to see my kids growing up. I get to spend more time with my wife, my family, and when I actually said that to them, like, because you guys made this thing, I now have more time with my kids, and I have more time with my wife, and I have more time to pursue things that I want to do because of base paint. And they were like, oh man, that's actually, I'm going to frame that message and look at it every time, I think about base paint, because I don't think they'd actually thought about what they had created themselves and what they were doing for all these artists who live in countries where, you know very underdeveloped, and it's hard to get, decent money or a good career, that sort of thing. Like, these guys made something that they can just log on to the internet, connect a wallet, paint some pixels, and get paid. Like, it's it's kind of mind-boggling, really, the entire concept of how simple yet how effective it really is, and how it enables literally anyone, doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. Um, you can join, and you can literally start today and reap the rewards. And once they kind of realize, like, almost like, was, I suppose maybe they had an epiphany or something. I'm not really sure, but they sort of realized the weight of that statement of me saying, "This is what you guys have done for me as one person in the hundreds of artists," and they were like, "Wow, that's actually kind of amazing." And they probably hadn't thought of that when they caught up when they were sort of, doing the concept for Basepaint. I think it's very, very cool what these guys have created. I can't really think of anything that I would change because I really enjoy how it is currently. But I just wish that there was a way that we could get more people involved without them thinking it was a scam or a waste of time type thing. But that's just unfortunately the wider pixel art community, and I don't really know myself how to approach that or how to solve that problem. But yeah, I would love to see more people painting. I think I'll just check quickly, but I think we only have, like, currently we only consistently have around 100 people, a little less, like 90 people painting every day. Um, Whereas if you scroll back all the way to, like, the very, very beginning, we had significantly more. I'll see if I can click back quickly. Um, if we go back to the very beginning, yeah, we had about 600 or 700 people. Yeah, wow, that's actually pretty crazy. I'm currently looking at the first 100 canvases, and we had about 600 people, sometimes 700, sometimes 1,000 people contributing, and now it's sitting at around 100. So I'd love to see more people painting, but I don't really know how to solve that problem personally. Um, because the wider you have to kind of look at the wider NFT market itself. It's like I don't know about you, but to me, it's pretty dead. I'm still checking, like, Solana markets and Ethereum markets for art, and some of them don't even have any active auctions. It's basically dead right now. So I think that's also another amazing reason that Basepaint is successful, because you look at Foundation, you look at Exchange Art, you look at Super Rare, all the other art markets, they're all dead, like fully dead. And Basepaint is still going strong. So I think that in of itself is another reason why people should get on board, because it obviously has longevity. But yeah, I think that for me, I'd like to see more people again jumping on and joining in to draw. Just a big thank you to Zach and Winter if they're watching. Really, like, you guys are awesome. We've built something amazing, and I hope it lasts forever. Let it last forever. I think about that one guy who put, like, an order for 21 million Bitcoin at like 1 cent or something. I'm like, it'll never, and they're like, it's never going to go to zero because his order will get filled or something like that. Um, but yeah, I'd love to see it last as long as possible. I think it would be very, very cool to see it live. I mean, it's also like we're coming up to a day 1,000 in a couple of months, and that's awesome. But I'd love to see it go, like, day 10,000. I don't know if it would make it that far, but dreams are free. It's like 30 years. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, that would be cool actually. Like a some kind of like Zoom um watch party for day 1,000. Watch party sounds cool though. I think that would be fun. I'll have to get up at 4 a.m. Up at 4 a.m. to be there.